Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kurt, and welcome to a very unusual episode of Kerbal Space Program. Unusual, because I'm recording this as a post-commentary from beyond the grave. Ooh, not just, I recorded this mission already, and I didn't feel like recording my voice at the same time, so we're trying something new. And as you can see, we're going to try, once again, to land our robotic mission on Duna. I've added those little, solar panels to the side of my rocket so that I do not run out of electrical charge. Also, at the last minute here, I decided maybe I should add a few more batteries just to hold whatever electric charge I can get, because that was the problem with the last time we tried. We pretty much died in transit just after leaving Kerbin because we had no way to get electricity. So here we go. I'm going to include the full launch in this video just because everybody enjoys a good rocket launch. It goes fairly much the same. Spoilers, I guess, but yeah. What am I doing here? Getting everything set up. I'm checking on... I haven't fast-forwarded time or anything like that because I feel the position between Kerbin and Duna is still about the same. Our dead spacecraft is still on the way there. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Sorry. So, yeah, a liftoff. Something I forgot to do, once again, was disable the gimbaling on those exterior booster motors. I feel like that is the cause of this very gentle rotation that I keep getting off the launch pad. So, if I ever decide to do this again, remind me to disable the gimbaling on the exterior rockets. But pretty much your standard liftoff. We stage, good chunk, very nice. Still keeping an eye on that rotation and trying to keep an eye on that 90-degree mark. And again, I feel this rocket is way overpowered. As you see, as this mission continues, I'll have ideas for additional changes to make because there are some shortcomings that we discover later on. So perhaps the additional bulk to resolve some of these issues, it might be necessary to have a rocket this large. Get good at getting into orbit without much problems as we normally used to have many times. What are we about to do? A round of staging with our external tanks once again. See you later. And then yeah, basically I get out into space properly enough, but I decide, instead of getting into a Kerbin orbit, since I'm already kind of facing the way I want to be facing, I'm just going to go for a direct trans-Duna injection. It takes me a while to decide not to try to get an encounter, and I'll just get into a solar orbit around the sun, and then, once I'm on Kerbin escape, I will deal with whatever rendezvous maneuvers I need to make. But here we're coming up on our burn. I think I did it too late because I forgot the fact that I was not already in Kerbin orbit. So I started it with like 2 seconds to go, but it's like a 45-second burn even with the mainsail engine. So already miscalculations and problems. But the least of our problems, because we still have to worry about the fact that we are right now on the shaded side of Kerbin and not getting any of that electrical solar power. We get power right now from the rockets as they're firing, but something worth keeping in mind. So yeah, this is our interplanetary burn, which goes pretty effortlessly with that big engine. And here we go, and the thing to watch, I'm not burning my rockets anymore, I'm just kind of sailing. Watch the electric charge. See how it's draining? Despite the fact that I'm no longer in the shadow of the planet, obviously, so I'm like, uh-oh. I noticed this right about now. I panic, slow things down, I'm like, what the crap? And let's take a look and see what's wrong. Turns out solar panels don't really work when you're facing exactly away from the sun. So I'm like, oh, crumbs. I should try to remedy this and at least have some of the solar panels face the sun. Since they are attached to the side of the rocket, they were completely in shadow. Almost had completely the same result there, but once I get those into the sun, you can see the electric charge start to stabilize, and then it starts to actually go up. So that was almost a disaster right then and there. And yeah, then I fast forward once again, and the electric charge goes whoop all the way up, and then I don't have to worry about electric charge anymore. Well, for the time being, let me say that much. And then we are on escape from Kerbin, and we have an orbit around the sun. That right there is our dead spacecraft. I was very curious if we were going to end up rendezvousing with it, or what it was going to do, because it had a rendezvous with Duna. It turns out, actually, that orbit that I'd set up was going to cause problems. So what I had to do was actually slow myself down a little bit to bring my orbit in a little bit so that I could catch up to Duna. Apparently I didn't time my burn correctly or do it properly, so this is my first kind of orbital adjustment burn where I actually bring the circle of my orbit down within, or further, closer to the sun, so I'm orbiting faster. And then this is the second maneuver, which I promptly get too impatient about reaching, what with interplanetary travel taking months and months and months, and I accidentally overshoot with the fast forward. And I'm like, oh crap, I panic. So I just throttle up all the way, despite the fact that I'm 36 minutes behind schedule. But it's not that big of a burn. I don't know why I have to check on the rocket to see that it's actually firing. But regardless, I get about to what I needed to get for that orbit, and then I found this might be the incorrect way to do things, or perhaps I'm just very imprecise with creating my planned maneuvers. I'm very just on and off with the rocket just to do little adjustments. I cancel that maneuver to get all that clutter out of my screen, and then I just by hand tap the gas until I could get a close approach and insertion to Duna orbit like that. I'm like, what is that? 29,000 meters? Let's try again. 34. Damn, I got further away. So I'm like, all right, I'm not touching anything again. I'm going to leave it as it is, and we're going to try to get to Duna. On the way, I switched over to our dead spacecraft, the first robotic one, just to see how close it did get to Duna. Not very close at all. All that unspent fuel and science just dead, floating in space. You can kind of see right there the planet Duna. There's a little glimmering pixel of hope. It almost turned into a transit across the sun, but you really can't see transits that well from here, so that was that. So we switched back to our actual mission in progress to set up for our, I guess, encounter, orbital insertion to Duna. I probably should have taken the time before getting here to make further adjustments so that I could get a closer approach. But I did not do such things, so here is my approach, and it's going to put me into a very wonky orbit around Duna. As you can see, woo, that's unusual. And once again, I underestimate the power of the mainsail engine, and that happens a lot quicker than I anticipate. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Also note that I've accidentally, this is going to be important, I've accidentally left my RCS and SAS on during this burn. Just keep that in mind. That is something I'm going to wish that I had not done. So after overreacting with that mainsail, I try to get a better orbital insertion, only to discover that I have no more RCS fuel left, so I have not that much control of the spacecraft, so I have to turn on the mainsail engine and use its gimbaling to get myself actually pointed in the direction that the burn wants to happen in. which in turn counts as a burn and really screws me up for my orbit. But I eventually run out of fuel. In general, it's just poor efficiency to have brought this giant mainsail engine and 3 stacks of fuel tanks with me this deep into space. It just is a silly thing. So, excuse me, I'll have to reconsider a different rocket design for my interplanetary travel. So this one is... it works, but not very well. I don't know what I was trying to do there. I was just going crazy and like, oh god, I came all this way and I'm not going to do this. So, oh yeah, staging, I can just do that. So, ditch that. And now I have the nuclear rocket, which I try to use, now that I'm without RCS, I try to use to get back on the straight and narrow, only to discover I had no idea. I should research these things, but the nuclear rocket does not have gimbaling. It does not provide you with control. So here I am, tumbling out of control, and it turns out that these robotic capsules are far more difficult to control without RCS. Because even the manned capsules, you can actually flip around and make maneuvers even if you don't have RCS. I don't know why. Are the little Kerbonauts like shifting in their seat to adjust which way the capsule points? But anyway, my ad hoc, my last minute awesome brain came up with, hey, I have these side-mounted engines, side-mounted rockets that are supposed to be for my landing. These have gimbaling. So I disable the nuclear rocket, which I've used for all of 5 seconds, and then I enable these rockets on the side, which have gimbaling, and with as little thrust as I possibly can, I'm able to start to gain control of my spacecraft that is tumbling out of control. Okay, maybe I panicked and I used a lot more throttle than I should have, which put me on a collision course with the planet. Kind of a problem. I have adjusted things many, many times. I've gained control once again, and now we are actually approaching Duna. We are passing by Ike. Is that Ike? Kind of a cool little accidental flyby of Ike. Yes, I planned that. That was all part of the mission plan. No. So, kind of a boring little lump of rock orbiting Duna, but we want to land on Duna. As we can see, and we're approaching. One of my other genius ideas was, okay, I'm using my landing stage rockets. I'm losing fuel in that, so I can just transfer fuel from the nuclear rocket stage, which I'm not using, into the upper stage, which should help me. I have a very close periapsis, 400 meters. I'm like very much considering a problem that might arise from that. I'm also coming on this weird polar orbit and headed towards the shadow. So I begin my descent burn, and at the same time I decide maybe I should try to just... I've also enabled here, I've decided I need the extra thrust to slow myself down, so I've re-enabled the nuclear rocket. I decided maybe I should try to point myself towards the sunny side of the planet. Once again, how solar power is very important to this mission. Especially once we land on the ground and we're not using any of our rockets anymore. So I kind of try to point myself at least as much as I can without wasting too much fuel in the direction of the sun. But these 3 rockets burning together are working out great. They're slowing me down. I'm down to under 300 meters per second in my orbit. It looks like pretty much this is now going to be a polar lander. We're going to investigate the ice cap of Duna. Once again, I realize I should transfer what fuel I have into my landing stage, since that's far more important. And then, what do I do? I panic, I freak out, I'm like, this isn't gonna work. Oh, then my monitor goes to sleep while I'm trying to record this post-commentary. Good job, Kurt. I shut down my landing engines just to save that fuel in there, just so that I can use up what little fuel I have left in the... what was supposed to be my cruise stage, but was nothing of the sort. With the nuclear engine. So I'm like, alright, I'll slow myself down just enough, keep myself at least under 300 meters per second for this landing. And then I can ditch this stage. Paranoid, I just make sure that I'm not draining fuel from that fuel tank. I'm like, alright. See you later, shitlord. You did absolutely nothing for me except for be a place where I can hold those extra solar panels. So, we are on our final approach. Still kind of landing in the shaded area. Not much I can do about that. I didn't feel confident in my ability to adjust my orbit enough where I could land on an actual sunny part of the planet. Mistake number 265 is that I left my throttle up and then reactivated just one of my side-mounted engines. Put me into a death spin. Fantastic! So here I'm panicking. I'm trying to capture the... that one's already activated. I'm trying to capture the rocket as I'm tumbling out of control. I'm noticing I'm starting to get into the atmosphere as the surroundings start to become a little bit red-hued. And very luckily, I'm able to fire the engines just as I'm coming into a proper heading. That was just luck. I don't know how that worked. But yeah, we're coming down. I'm actually quite surprised. I mean, I know Duna has lower gravity than Kerbin, but these side-mounted little tiny rockets are actually quite powerful. And they don't suck down that much fuel. So I'll definitely have to consider using these for my landing stages. I mean, I could just use these for landing on the moon and stuff like that, it seems. Maybe. Who knows? So here we go. We've got the full landing sequence coming up. I notice I'm starting to slow down a little bit too well, so I'm like, alright, I'll just let myself drop some. We're at 17,000 meters. Let's keep a steady pressure on the throttle. I'm slowing my descent enough. There's a point here where I kind of look at the ground and I'm like, oh, this is approaching a lot quicker than I thought it would be. So I kind of panic and throttle up. I've also already enabled the parachute, so that it will just deploy whenever there's enough atmosphere. Here's that panic throttle. There we go. And then the parachute deploys. So that's helping me slow down as well. We're under 200 meters per second. Starting to see rocks. I start to panic. I throttle up more. Like, okay, landing gear, landing gear. I do have lights, but I'm also concerned about my electric charge, but it's actually okay because the rockets are firing, I think. Unless these rockets don't make electric charge. I don't know, I'm very stingy with my lights. I notice my parachute hasn't fully deployed. I don't know that it ever does in Duna because the atmosphere is so thin. Coming down, the epic music. We're down under 50 meters per second, so the parachute has really helped us out. And actually, I notice it's actually starting to hinder us at this point. Because I take a look, and what's the parachute doing over there? Get out of here, you're making me go all wobbly and sideways. So I cut the cord to the parachute. It's kind of a curiosity lander approach. I only need the parachute to slow down as insurance. We are starting to come down. I say balls to it, switch on the lights. I check to make sure they aren't just draining my batteries. Watch out for that giant boulder of ice or snow or whatever that's supposed to be. There we have our landing lights. 9 meters per second. I'm getting way too good at landing, just by the way. 7 meters per second. 7 again. Freak out. Throttle up too much. realize I've throttled up too much and then just cut the throttle and fall to the ground. Hooray! We've landed on Duna. And the electric charge is slowly going down. So quick, Kurt, turn off the lights. You don't need those anymore. Take a look at your surroundings. Ooh, that's a cool picture. Don't get distracted. You need to deploy the solar panels, or else you're just going to be a dead spacecraft on the North Pole of Duna. So we deploy the solar panels, only to discover... Don't! One of the problems with being on the North Pole is that the sun never fully rises. But good enough that the solar panels flipped on their sides and actually end up getting some of that sun power, and that's joyous days. We've landed on whereabouts the North Pole of Duna. We've got like plenty of fuel left. I could probably even, I don't do that here, but I could probably like lift off and kind of shimmy my way into a better, more sunlit area. I start to check all these scientific equipments that I brought with. They just give you little readouts, like the accelerometer, 0.29 G, so that's apparently the gravity on Duna is 0.29 of Kerbin. The thermometer is an interesting one. It's like negative 32 something. I don't know what if Kerbal Space Program goes by actual like Celsius or Earth stuff. But yeah. I noticed something interesting. When the sun does go down, watch the electric charge. The electric charge does completely drain. And then I was like, oh crap, that means the spacecraft is dead. If the sun doesn't come back up. And it won't come back alive. Boop, out of battery power. Ah. But a weird thing is, it's cool to watch the sky move around on the North Pole. The weird thing is, when the sun does come back up, even though there's no electric charge, whoop, the solar panels flip around somehow and start to get sunlight again. So we're all right. We are in a perpetual state of being out of battery and then back into battery up on the North Pole of Duna, but we did it! We landed a robotic mission on Duna, so the next step, of course, is manned missions and failing at those. So, oh, running out of time. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time!